Good morning. Bring your friends. Come on in. I'm going to give you a moment to grab your notes or not your notes, but your notebook, your journal. If you can hear me, give me a wave, an emoji, a hey girl, hey, good Monday morning. Let me know you are here. So today is the very first Monday of February. For those of you who have decided to engage in the 2019 do-over, today is the first Monday of your new year, and I wanted to take this opportunity to chat with you and give you some encouragement to let you know that you don't need to feel like you're behind. You don't need to feel like any guilt or anything like that because you are in the do-over, because I am a testimony to the truth that a lot can happen in a month. So February 2019 can be your month. Hey V. So just really quickly, in case you are new to my lives, my page, welcome. My name is Tiffany Huff Struthers, and I work with women to help them move from setback to impact, specifically recover from whatever setback or setbacks you've had, especially those ones that you think are the worst, the ones that we get all worked up about and think have ruined our lives, and help you share your story and experiences to make an impact. And of course, if you are struggling with the fact that you've had some challenges in January, it will be challenging for you to move forward and make said impact. So I wanted to come through this morning and let you know that the do-over is all good. Don't let anybody talk you out of the fact that you can start fresh today. And I want to encourage you that a lot can happen in a month. And I say that because I had at least 10 years worth of New Year's where I needed do-over after do-over after do-over after do-over. I had an experience in August of 2006. And in the midst of the experience, I declared to the people who were around me and kind of enduring the experience with me that I was going to write a book about said experience. Again, this happened to me in August of 2006. During that time, I literally had a legal pad that I carried around with me. In the midst of where I was, I allowed the people who were a part of the process I was enduring to pick their alias names. There were certain things that would go on and people would be like, okay, make sure you write that down. Make sure you put this in the book. And after the experience, I continued to carry this notebook or this legal pad around. In fact, I even moved out of state, took the legal pad with me there. When I moved back to Pennsylvania, I still had the legal pad, but by that point, I had kind of dismissed the idea, right? I knew that I was going to write a book. I knew that I would be an author. It was something that I knew from the time that I was a little girl, but I didn't realize that the declaration that I made in 2006 was actually prophetic, like it was real. It was, at the time, I thought just something I was saying to pass the time, to get through the experience that was not at all a positive experience, right? So I felt like this was something that I could hold on to. It gave me something to look forward to as I was going through that experience. So like I said, this happened in 2006. I moved out of state in 2007. I moved back to Pennsylvania in 2009. So at this point, I'm still carrying this legal pad around, but I have not begun the process of writing this book because I didn't think it was real. But I kept praying and I kept feeling like I was going to be an author. I couldn't figure out why I had not become an author to that point. So this is at least 3 years in. At some point in the midst of my journeys and me moving, I don't know what happened to that legal pad, right? And so this is something that sometimes happens for us, right? We set a goal. Hey, good morning, Tasha. We set a goal, we write it down, it goes into a journal, a notebook. Maybe you start taking notes or doing research in a computer on your phone, and then you lose that space, right? You lose your phone or you upgrade, you get a new laptop and you don't transfer everything over. And so you kind of lose sight of this dream or this idea that you have. It gets away from you. Life starts to happen and the new years keep coming and new goals are being set and new challenges are happening, and you have new things to face, right? So in the midst of everything that was going on with me, by 2010, 9 or 10, my children were going to school. My son was in kindergarten. I had started a new job. I was looking at growth in my new position. So this idea, this declaration that I had made way back years ago kind of fell by the wayside. And I kept feeling year after year that something was missing, that there was a void, that I needed to start again, that I was going to write this book, right? Not that book, not the book I declared I was going to write, but I kept setting a goal every year to become an author, to write a book. And I'll be honest, I was pretty confident. And so I kept convincing myself, I kept telling myself the lie that the reason why I hadn't written a book yet was because I had so many great ideas that I just couldn't figure out which one to start with. And so I held on to that. And it was really an excuse, right? While I thought I was giving myself a compliment, it was really excuse, hey, Seth, about why I wasn't doing the work. So 2006 August, like I said, this is when the experience happened. It took all the way until August of 2016 for me to sit down and write the book. And let me preface that by saying that the reason why I finally sat down to do it in August of 2016 was because I had another major setback. In January of that year, my dad passed away. And so I kind of lost my mind when my dad passed away. I had a period of temporary insanity, I seriously believe. And so it took me a very long time. I found myself almost back in the space I was in August of 2006 when I was at a very low point, and I had to use the idea that I was going to write that book to motivate me. And so I found myself in August of 2016, even though the circumstances were not exactly the same, I found myself feeling the same way. Like I had lost my way, like I wasn't sure what was going to happen next or what I should do next. But I knew that I had this dream, right? I knew I had this vision of writing a book. And so 10 years, let me back up. The other thing was I didn't want this story to be the story that I told first, right? So like I said, I always knew I was going to be an author. I've been writing since I could hold a crayon or a pen or a pencil. I've always been writing, but I didn't want that to be the story that I told. So I had these excuses that were stopping me from manifesting the dream that I knew was planted deep down in me before I was even able to conceptualize what writing a book was, right? So in August of 2016, after another setback, I find myself in the same space and I decide that I'm going to write the book. So that was 10 whole years from the date of declaration. And I'm sure that you can think back 10 minutes, maybe 10 hours, 10 weeks, 10 months, and as well as 10 years to a goal that you set, to an idea that you had, to a dream that you've dreamt and kind of decided that it was no longer for you, or that it was something haphazard, right? You've been excusing it away for whatever reason, telling yourself you'll do it after you have kids, telling yourself you'll do it when you have more money, when you have more time, when you learn a new skill, right? And what will happen is, if this is something that you are called and specifically created to do, if there's a story or an experience within you that you were specifically taken through on the journey through, because it's supposed to impact other people, when you finally get still, it will be made manifest. Or when you, queen of excuses, hey, I've been there. Or what will happen is you will find yourself experiencing setback after setback after setback, if that is the only time when your dream comes back to mind. And if we're honest with ourselves, that is often what happens, until we find ourselves in a space where we've fallen down, when things get bad, when we have some time to sit down and think what our next move will be. Those are often the times when we remember the dreams that we had, the goals that we set, and how we've, for whatever reason, let them get away from us, right? And so I want to encourage you, because like I said, it was 10 years of me making excuses and trying other things, and deciding that, this was something that I could do later, and that wasn't the perfect time. And like I said, if I'm completely honest and transparent, this was not the story I was going to tell. And I have so many brilliant ideas that, I just can't decide on which one, so I won't write anything. But when I found myself back in that space, when I got back into that setback, I realized this was the story. This was the dream. This was the answered prayer. And so I sat down, literally 10 years to the day, in August of 2016, and I wrote that book. I wrote the book in August of 2016, and I published it in June. I went through the process, right? Because there's a process, the editing process, and, finding a graphic designer, all of the things, right? But I wrote the book in 1 month. 1 month. Something that I put off for 10 years, something that every New Year's I set this resolution, when I was setting resolutions. And then when I started, setting my intentions, it was an intention that I set every year. Even before that 10 years, I knew I was going to write a book, but it took 10 years of do-overs, 10 years of fresh starts, 10 years of challenges, 10 years of excuses for me to get to the time that it took me 1 month, 30 days to write this book. And this book is now an award-winning book. And I share that to encourage you, because so often we get caught up in what we didn't do, or when we didn't do it, or how long it takes us to get to the start line again, right? So if today is the day that you are back at the starting line, if today is the day after 10 years, 20 years, even if it was a week, right? Even if it's just the month of January that has passed, or how everybody is referring to it, the year of January. If this is the day that you decide you're going to begin again, you're going to pursue the thing, whatever the thing is for you again, make the commitment to show up for yourself every day for 1 month, and you will be amazed at what will happen. And then make whatever you commit to a priority. During the month of August of 2016, I woke up, after I did the things that were necessary to get people out of the house, make sure I had the time to be in a quiet space to myself. I prioritized writing every single morning. And I literally vomited this book out. When I finally got still and finally made the commitment, I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. It was still challenging, but it was a challenge with ease, because it was time and it was overdue. And so if you have a thing, if you have a goal, a dream that you have been putting off, You can tap the screen if you're on Facebook. You can leave an emoji or a comment, something that you have been making excuses about, and maybe it is something that is very daunting, right? So writing a book, there is a process. Like I said, even after I committed that 30 days, I had to go through the editing process, publishing process, all of the things, right? But there are some of the goals that we have, some of the dreams, the visions, the plans we have that are so big that we decide we can't do them because we don't know where to start. We don't know how to begin. It's so daunting that we get overwhelmed even with the idea of beginning, for fear of not being able to finish or for fear of what will happen if we do. So I want you to consider what step you can take in the next month to make it, to begin to build the momentum to make it happen. If you don't know what that one thing is, if you're not sure how to look at your big God-sized dream, the big thing that God has for you to do, and determine where to begin and how to get moving without being overwhelmed, then I invite you to consider investing in yourself and your dream through the Manifest in a Month course. And the Manifest in a Month course is a self-paced masterclass that takes you from, gaining really crystal clear insight into what it is, what your big thing is, right? Where you're going, and then doing some honest reflection about where you are, and then having the time to spend and look at the space in between. And what you will be able to do through this course is look at where you are, look at where you're going, and then be able to drill down and decide, this is what I can do in the next 30 days that will not only change my life, but change the lives of others, and put me on the journey to do the big thing that I know I'm called to do. And so for me, like I said, 30 days, I committed to this. In my mind, I was committing to writing a book. But since I wrote this book, so many other things have happened. So many other people have been impacted. So many other opportunities have been presented to me. And in fact, I have helped. So I wrote this book in 2016, published it in 2017. In 2018, I helped 8 other women become authors. And this year I'm going to help, my goal is to help 20 other women become authors. So you don't know the power of what making your 1 month commitment will have. You don't know the impact of what it will have. And so I challenge you today to, even if you're in the midst of the 2019 do-over, to invest in your do-over, to make it as powerful as it can possibly be, and commit to the next 30 days and seeing how your life will change. And Manifest in a Month will help you take the overwhelm out of whatever the thing is, the dream is that God has given you to pursue. I felt very strongly that I needed to share that with some of you this morning. If it's not for you, then perhaps you know someone who this is for, someone who has been struggling, challenged with where to begin, where to start, and also dealing with the guilt of the time that it has taken to get started, right? And so I want to encourage you, guilt is not of God. It is, it is not about condemning yourself. It's about deciding, right? Making the declaration that now is the time, and that you will be committed, and that if it takes an investment that you did not expect, then make said investment. Sometimes we need someone outside of us to remind us of how important that thing is. So I don't want to hold y'all too much. It's Monday morning. It's Make It Happen Monday. Everybody's probably on their way to work, doing the things. If you have a question, a comment, I open the floor for you now. If you have not already, share this out for someone else who might be impacted. If you are on Instagram, you can gain access to the Manifest in a Month course by clicking the link in my bio. On Facebook, the information to access the Manifest in a Month course is in the title of this live stream. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what you will make happen this month. And I pray that you will tag me or share with me, connect with me, and let me know what all of the things are that you are doing. And take advantage of what you can learn, glean, and do through Manifesting a Month. And the good thing about the course is once you buy it, it's yours. Once you learn the system, you can use it over and over and over again for every big thing or every big project that you have to work on. It will help you drill it down and make it less overwhelming, make it something that you can chew on, right? Like you can't eat a 12-foot sub all in one bite, but if you cut it up and break it down and get the right sauce for each section of the sandwich, then it's a more enjoyable experience and you get to do a little bit by bit. So thanks y'all for tuning in with me this Monday morning. And you can set your notifications so you are made aware when I go live in the future. I will be doing a live stream every morning for the month of February. So join me. Y'all have an amazing Monday. Later.